This podcast is a proud member of the UUOP network.
This is episode 689 of the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast for November 18th, 2025. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I am again on my own, not surrounded by my usual co-host, but I have commandeered the much more professional co-host from last week, Kendra and Derek. Thanks for joining me again, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I am excited. You were much more professional than my usual course. I have literally just spoke to Chris because he was hoping to get on this one. He sounded very angry. Definitely not coming on. So this is another of the Producers Club submitted Universal Orlando hot takes and unpopular opinions. So we have no idea where this is going to go, but I am going to ask you guys to pick me a number between 1 and, where are we at? 19. So ladies first again. Kendra, pick me a number between 1 and 19.
Let's go 11.
11. Okay, this one comes from, these ones, just one, comes from Graham Boyd. He says, my unpopular opinion is that the closure of Rip Ride Rockit will be a great loss to studios and will adversely affect the appeal of that park with no big coasters left in the park.
Ooh. Yeah, I think it's a temporary down point. That was a rough coaster. So I'm excited to see, but the skyline definitely is different. So I agree with that. Like we were saying, City Walk was quiet. It was different during Halloween Horror Nights, not having that going. So it does create a change. Just not sure it's negative.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think the skyline took a very big hit, as well as some of the, I'll call it ambiance up in the front, especially during Horror Nights. I do agree. I think the only coaster that's left over there is the Mummy and the Troller coaster.
Yeah, technically Gringotts is as well.
Yeah, but as far as big coasters, that was the last one standing.
But then Studios has never been the coaster park, has it, really? I think Rip Ride Rockit being in there in the first place was it, I'm trying to think who owned the park at the time, it was like 2009, wasn't it, when they were going through apparently the worst period in their history of like, we need to put something in this park that's going to draw people in, and then completely cocked it up because from what I've heard, nothing was actually put in the right place.
It was definitely different. We get to drive in every time we visit, and so we drive through a neighborhood that has a lake overlooking a lot of the skyline of Universal. So it was very different. You can still see Doom and some Hulk from there, but not having Rip Ride, and that looks different. But I never go to Studios thinking I'm going to go on a whole bunch of coasters either. If I'm going for a big ride day like that, it's going to Islands.
Yes.
Yep.
It's that weird one as well that, I mean, I loved it, but it was very much a love-hate coaster. You either loved it or you hated it and didn't ride it. Like, I tried for years to get Michelle on it, and she would not have it. And it was just that vertical lift hill that I think put a lot of people off, and the amount of times that it got stuck at the top, which we found out it didn't actually get stuck at the top, put a lot of people off. But I agree with you, Kendra. I think it is a temporary loss.
Yeah, I'm hoping they take any coaster is going to fill in a little bit of the skyline there. So, I think they've taken that into consideration already. I would hope that it still fills in some of those gaps.
Yeah, it might be my unpopular opinion about this unpopular opinion or topic, I guess. But I actually enjoyed the vertical lift. I thought it was relaxing.
Me too.
Going up.
Oh, I did not. That gave me a heart attack.
It's weird, isn't it? How people are, because for me, I'm just looking at. It's the only ride in Universal Studios Florida that you get to see an elevated view of that park. So that's why I'm just looking about at the park from up at the top of that lift hill, whereas everyone else is struggling to not die at going up it.
Yeah, that's me.
But I like the fact that it's now not there because I must admit I did hate how it affected the skyline. So if you're stood over by Men in Black looking kind of across the lagoon down New York where the entrance to Jimmy Fallon is, it looked awful from there. It really did. So that not being there, I hope whatever they put in isn't as it's going to sound like a really stupid statement, isn't as roller coastery as that was, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It just looked like a Six Flags coaster.
Yeah, I hope they'd maybe go with a more subtle color. Do like the Velocicoaster, like a deeper color or something that maybe fits in with the skyline a little more than that bright red.
Yeah.
Well, from what I remember seeing is the permit for it was only 2 stories, if I'm remembering that. So I mean, if it adds anything to the coast or the skyline, it's not going to be dwarfed by the or really level with the studios and the Music Plaza stage. So I think
wasn't that permit? I think that 2-story permit was for the load station.
Yeah, I think it was just one of the like 2 or 3 buildings that were going in for it.
So the coaster still could be pretty high. So it sounds like whatever it is, you're still going to load elevated like Rip Ride Rockit did. But it'd be nice to have something that kind of fits the aesthetic of Universal Studios Florida, because it really didn't. Like a music coaster, it was cool. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that you got to pick your own music, but it didn't fit. Especially when they put it in there that we were still going through that whole ride the movies thing, and listen to some music while you're on. Apparently.
Yeah, it was just it felt a little random for the park.
It was. It's not a little random.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Fast and Furious franchise fan, but I think that coaster would fit in well there. And if they did go with it with like what it's like in Hollywood, it looks like a really fun coaster.
Although I do slightly worry about how nausea-inducing it might be.
Yeah, the spinning could get me a little bit.
So you talked about it on the last episode, Derek, about Guardians. How bad's that spinny-wise? Do you suffer from motion sickness at all?
I don't, so it's never been a problem for me, but I just love the Guardians because it's controlled, so you kind of lean into the turns almost, so it just flows very smoothly. It's if you haven't done it, it's kind of hard to explain, but I love it. How
is Guardians compared to something like Curse of the Werewolf?
It's definitely a lot smoother, and you don't get whipped around the same way that you had the potential to on Curse of the Werewolf.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved Curse of the Werewolf, and I get very motion sick, but I absolutely loved Curse of the Werewolf.
Me too. It's funny, isn't it?
I was worried about it. I thought for sure that one would get me. So I'm hoping maybe the new coaster would be something. If it does spin, it's similar to that, or maybe like Guardians.
I love the fact that if it is obviously whatever an Orlando version of the Universal Hollywood attraction, that it is something new that isn't anywhere else in the world. I don't think there is a drift coaster. Nice. It'd be cool. But I know there's a lot of... I've heard a lot of people complaining that the parks should all be different, and then you're just putting another ride that's somewhere else. But then it's like, you've got 3 Forbidden Journeys at this point around the world. You've got 3 Super Nintendo worlds at this point. It's like, it is what it is. Like, don't complain. It's like, are you going to go out to Universal Hollywood? Probably not. Are you going to go to Orlando? Probably. Well, there you go then.
Yeah, I think as long as I wouldn't want the parks to be exactly mirrored, but I don't think a little bit of overlap is a bad thing.
No, it's better than not putting anything in, and it's cheaper for Orlando, you would think, to put something like that in, to replace something that wasn't drawing people in, to put something else in, because the R&D for it's done. Yes, it's going to be different because the layout isn't going to be the same, because the one in Hollywood literally built on the side of a mountain, whereas this is going to be different. But what I am excited about, I don't know whether you guys have noticed that so if you walk from studios to islands, they've got it all walled off now. Where Rip Ride Rockit was, that huge area. That area was massive by the Blue Man Group. But then there's a bit on the left-hand side that butts up against the lagoon that they've also flattened. And I am really keeping my fingers crossed that coaster is going to come out into City Walk, across that path, and back round again.
Yeah, I think that would make City Walk feel even more part of the parks themselves. I would love that.
Yeah, and
it doesn't look like it.
My wife, since she just got back yesterday from there, and she said the same thing, how the walls go all the way down. So that was her impression as well, as it'll come out over top.
I hope so, because that's what Rip Ride Rockit was supposed to be. It was supposed to go out into City Walk and it was supposed to have a separate entrance so that even when the park was closed, they could charge people, whatever, 10, 15, I think we talked about it on the tribute episode, to be able to have that ride still open when the park is closed, so people coming into City Walk would pay whatever it was to be able to ride that on a night, which would have been super cool, but never happened, obviously. I think that's kind of where you got the idea with Stardust Races in Celestial Park. It feels very much like a similar kind of idea, that it's in the sort of main hub of the park rather than being in a world.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it gives you something to enjoy. Like, I don't know if they'd be able to keep it open later than maybe the parks close, but with the park on the nights where those parks close a little bit earlier, to have a coaster that you could still go on in the dark would be
awesome.
Pretty cool.
And make an extra bit of money out of it, because people would 100%. You get tanked up at Fat Tuesdays and then go and ride Fast and Furious.
That would make for a very interesting coaster ride.
I thought there was a plan to do that to Michelle to get her on the rocket at one point or
Hey,
yeah.
or
I will
another.
call it out now. Crystal King was ready to put down some serious money to get Michelle on it, and she just wasn't having it. But Michelle was like, the only way you're going to get me on it is if I've got a few drinks in me, and it never happened, but yeah.
Those Fat Tuesday drinks could do it, though.
Oh, I'm sure. Derek, pick me a number between 1 and 19, excluding number 11.
So I will go with number 6.
Number 6. These ones, I will say, she sent 2 in from Jess Acker. So she says, number 1, I don't understand the... it's perfect timing for this one, by the way. I don't understand the appeal of Halloween Horror Nights. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad it exists. It is very successful for Universal and helps to keep Universal producing the parts of the parks I love, and it makes so many people happy. I love hearing the absolute joy in Michelle's voice when she talks about Horror Nights, but I hate jump scares and being scared. I'm also very easily scared, so that is a big part of it. I will never understand why this is enjoyable to people. I love the classic monsters, but in the very, very old movies that aren't really scary, or the made-over kid-friendly Halloween-type personalities. I mean, if you don't like jump scares, then I guess you wouldn't understand the appeal of Horror Nights. But then, I'm going to call out Tracy's co-host over at the Taste of Universal at this point, Kelly. Kelly is a jump scare fall down on the floor person. I wouldn't say she loves Horror Nights, but she's gone 3 years in a row now.
I think I'm with Kelly on that. Like, so I passed out in a kid-friendly, like, small family-run corn maze one time.
Wow.
And then I punched a werewolf one time on a like kid-friendly hayride. So I am not a jump scare person normally. And last year was my first Horror Nights, and I enjoyed it far more than I thought I would. I still need a break in between houses sometimes, but I do enjoy it much more than I thought I would.
My wife was in the similar boat. Like, she didn't grow up watching scary movies or horror, but now we go every year, and I think it's one of our most looked forward to trips that we do. And I know it's not for everybody, and that I think that's what was in the comment, but I mean, there are other events for people that don't like horror, i.e. Mardi Gras or the holidays.
Yeah, I went last year thinking I'll just do the scare zones. I won't be as afraid, outside of the houses. And then like, okay, I'll try one, and ended up really enjoying it, and then kind of started easing my way into more and got a lot more into it than I really thought I would. But yeah, I can see if you are afraid of jump scares. Like, Jason, not my house. I can't do 13 jump scares in a row. I will die.
I think that's the thing with Horror Nights, though, isn't it? Like, I know Kelly's like that, and I think I've told this story before. The first time she did Horror Nights, we were already in the park, a big group of us. We were outside, so this has been 2023. So we were out by the Fear Factor stage. We were going to go and do Dr. Oddfellow's, whatever that house was called, that year. She literally landed at the airport, dropped her bags at her hotel, got the bus to Universal Studios Florida, came into Horror Nights on her own, never having done anything like this before, really. She'd done like a couple of Six Flags ones. Had to walk through the entire park on her own to meet us at the back of the park. And then we did Dr. Oddfellows together. She was behind me. I was a to her as well, because I slowed down, and she hit me in the back at one point and said, "I hate you." And then she had literal tears coming out of her eyes when we came out.
I give her major credit for walking through by herself, though, for her first time.
Yeah, and then she's at that point where she doesn't necessarily like jump scares. She goes with her Seekender group. They're like a group of friends that met during the last Weekender that have become just the most amazing group of friends. And she goes more from peer pressure, I guess, from them. But she picks and chooses what she wants. And again, she'll do a couple of houses and then they'll have a break. So it's not like me, Tracy, Chris, and Michelle, where we'll literally just go from house to house to house to house to house because we don't really get scared. I mean, it's funny to see where Michelle's come from like the first. You brought it up on the last episode, Derek. Yeti Terror of the Yukon was the first house I ever did with Michelle, and she was stood behind me, and she like grabbed hold of my t-shirt and shouted at the first jump scare in that house. To now, she actually admitted this year, she's like, I don't know whether I'm losing my edge, but I didn't get scared this year. And I'm like, welcome to the club, Michelle. But I wonder, Jess, if you've done anything like this before, or whether it's just like people jumping out on you, like you don't like people going boo, or whether you've actually done an event like this to know that you don't like that type of thing, because the three of us have talked about here, you hear so many people who don't like things like that, but then go to Horror Nights and just fall in love with it.
Yeah, I went out of peer pressure first. Like, I just felt like, yeah, everybody's like, you love Universal, but you're skipping an entire event. So I went, I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I really did. It surprised me how much, but I do need those breaks. I went with we did express passes for the first time this year. Oh, no. I don't know if I could go back to not doing that, but yeah. 4 houses in a row. And I called, I was like, okay, I need a down moment there, because it was a big adrenaline rush.
And I think something else that if you're not big into horror, but you're a fan of art or production value, the daytime tours are great. So, I mean, the fake blood and guts bodies, whatever, is still there, but no one's jumping out at you, and you can still see all the work and detailing that goes into all of this stuff too.
That's a really good idea, point, actually. Yeah, it is, because we did the Unmasking the Horror tour back in 2019. I didn't get as much out of it as I hoped, but then they picked... so we did Universal Monsters, Graveyard Games, and Killer Clowns. So Tracy was in her element getting to go through the Killer Clowns house. It's funny how the Monsters houses that was my least favourite house that year, and yet the subsequent ones were amazing. And I kind of wish I could go back through that. Now I appreciate the Universal Monsters a little bit more, but we went through the Graveyard Games, and that elevated that house. Going through it with the lights on to then going through it again during Horror Nights, that house jumped so far up my list. And I think that's a really good way of, like, if you're interested, like if it's something, I know I don't like jump scares, but I kind of want to dip my toe in it. That's the perfect way to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We haven't done it yet. I think maybe next year we'll give it a try.
Yeah, and I know Graveyard Games was my first ever Horror Nights house. And that's one that I wish I could go back and do again.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Kind of having the appreciation for the event that I have now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because you enjoy it, but then you don't fully understand. It's like, I wish I could remember any of those houses we went through back in 2004. I mean, we'd never done anything like that the first year we did Horror Nights. And to go to something on the level of that, and it's changed so much in the last 20 years. And I just don't remember the event at all. We made all the rookie mistakes that we're on this podcast going, don't ride rides during Horror Nights. Don't get your face painted. Don't wait until it's dark. We did all those stupid mistakes. And now I wish I could go back and do that event again, knowing the event like I do now. But yeah, I'd be interested, Jess. Actually, get in touch. I'd be interested just to see if it is something like you've been to a haunt and you know you don't like it, or whether it's just the thought of it more than anything.
UUOP is brought to you by the Producers Club. Join today and get bonus episodes, the chance to be a guest host, birthday shoutouts on air, be part of our awesome Facebook community, and more. Head over to uuop.supercast.com to subscribe. Shameless plug.
And now we've defended Jess, I'm about to throw her to the wolves, because her second one is, sorry Jess, by the way, I don't understand the podcast's love for Port of Entry. I will say it's a good job Tracy's not here.
Oh, I love Port of Entry.
She says, I don't dislike Port of Entry, but I just see it as a randomly themed entry. I don't understand where I'm supposed to be or how it fits in with the park with lands based on literature. It's far superior to an unthemed entrance to the parks, but I don't appreciate like you all do on the podcast. I'd love to see what I am missing and see it as you all do, but I simply don't get it. Right, Jess. I am going to go into the Producers Club and I'm going to post the episodes. We did 2 episodes on Port of Entry. One with a friend of ours who works for a big themed entertainment company that we're not allowed to mention. He's a huge fan of Port of Entry. That episode. And then we also interviewed Adrian Gorton, who was the art director for Port of Entry. Maybe it's about time Tracy did an episode on Port of Entry as well, kind of talking about that. But I will let you guys go first.
Yeah, so my thoughts on it are, I do love Port of Entry too. I think the theming is great, and the story, if you know it, it all makes sense. which I think is the case here. And I don't think it's ever really spelled out in words. So if you don't have that knowledge, I can kind of see that perspective. However, I think it is at least the last couple times that we've gone, it feels like it's missing something. And I think that something are the characters.
Yes.
That I haven't seen probably in the last couple years. And I know we had mentioned it on the last episode about the character interactions at Epic. And I think if they brought back those interactions up in Port of Entry, I think it would help out a lot.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Port of Entry prepares you for what you're going to enter into for the rest of the park. It is highly, highly themed. I can understand maybe if you don't have all the background. I like to dive into all the lore of the areas I'm going to go into. So the backstory there is probably one of my favorite things, and all the little hidden details they have. But I can see if you don't have the time to stop and take all that in, it may not seem as impressive maybe as it does to those of us who really like to listen to all the different sounds and read the signs that they have hidden everywhere.
Yeah, it's like Celestial Park, isn't it? There's like a huge story behind Celestial Park and the Kronos and all the rest of it. And unless you're prepared to kind of do the research in there, which it is something I want to do a podcast episode on. I'm trying to research that at the moment. It's not, again, like you say, it's not specifically spelled out. There's a little bit at the opening of the park where the Kronos starts turning and stuff. But with Port of Entry, it's a similar thing. So just quickly, Jess, the idea is that travelers from around the globe came and set up their camp in Port of Entry. So if you look, I think if I remember rightly, the ticket window booth things, whatever, at the front, if you look, there's like red and orange sails. They're supposed to be used their ships to create the structures in the land, and they all kind of made that their home. So these people from all over the world, the whole and I love the fact, but it's not actually true, that you mentioned that all the lands are based on literature, and that's not that. It is true, but it's not. It wasn't meant to be. It's a happy accident. It wasn't a thing that Universal went, we want everything to be based on literature. It just happened to be that. So the whole idea is that each land was populated by the meteor strike was Marvel and all the rest of it. And then when Potter came in and kind of changed it a little bit. But then if you go into Confisco Grill, that's the like the place where all the random contraband got stored. So if you go in there, there's things from all over the land. And Tracy knows this stuff way better than I do. But I love Port of Entry, and it's one of those places that every time we go, Tracy always says, I just want to spend a couple of hours in here documenting the whole thing. But I completely agree with what you said. The character interactions are a huge miss, because they used to have the mayor of Port of Entry, and she was great. We actually know her, so we used to have many interactions. And then there was I don't know whether you guys bumped into the pirate yep. girls. They were amazing.
They were hilarious.
They were so good. We had a whole interaction with one of them. Funny enough, Horror Nights 23 with the whole Dr. Oddfellow thing, and she come over and she followed us into Seuss Landing, because we're like, Dr. Oddfellow creates weird creatures. Hang on, because Dr. Seuss does the same things. Like, hang on, are they the same person? And she was like, oh my God, have we like created this conspiracy theory? She's like, I'm going to tell everyone I see now that this conspiracy theory that Dr. Seuss and Dr. Oddfellow are the same person. And we saw her like 3 days later, and she looked at me and I went, Ruby, and she went, Lee, and I went, yes. I hope you're still telling everyone that conspiracy theory. And then at the end of that year, they just got rid of all of and I guess it was a cost-cutting measure for what was going on at Epic. But it is a shame.
And I thought they used to have explorers as well.
Yeah.
It was like the third group.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I think a lot of the characters, they only seem to bring out when it was busy, as like a speed bump for people getting into the parks. But you think with how much people are loving it in Epic, to add that into the other parks would be massive. I would love to see much more of that. And that's I know you want Epic to stand out as your signature theme park, but then this has always been my worry, that people who haven't been to Universal before go to Epic and see this amazing theme park with all these interactions and theming and all the rest of it, and then go to the others and go, these are a bit crappy compared to that.
Yeah, I think that's the valid point there, is you have to still bring islands and studios up to the same level of expectation that Epic is now setting. And people don't have time, most of your typical visitors don't have time to dive into the lore, so they might not pick up on all of those small details hidden out, and the characters helped point out some of that or bring a little bit more of it to your attention.
Absolutely. It's like Horror Nights. We've debated it a lot about Horror Nights of trying to sell the story of a house in the queue line. And a lot of them don't do a very good job of it.
Yeah, because that would have like we were saying earlier, Grave of Flesh, that would have made it make a lot more sense, I think, having a little bit of that backstory.
If we had no idea walking through that house of like what the hell it is, even though I've been through it many times. Yeah.
Well, and I know one thing with the Horror Nights house is the Universal podcast, their anthology series, usually does a pretty good job at that.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, the Grave of Flesh this year, like, really didn't relate to the house at all, other than there's a graveyard with monsters.
Yeah, I felt like they just read their description essentially for that and didn't really add too much more to it.
I think I listened to it. I don't remember it. But, it's another. It's the inferior Universal podcast. I don't really pay much attention.
Of course.
Of course.
Back to you, Kendra. A number between 1 and 19, not 6 and not 11.
Let's go with 13.
There we go. Tracy's favourite number. So these are from Patrick Coffey. He says, such a fun idea. I can't wait for the episode. Here are a few I have. Number 1, of the 4 best rides at Universal... Oh, this is a hot take. Of the 4 best rides at Universal Orlando, none are at Epic Universe. That is controversial, because I would argue right now that Monsters Unchained is better than anything at Studios or Islands.
Yeah, maybe this is my hot take. I will say Hiccups is number 1 for me. I loved Mediterranean Monsters, but Hiccups beat that for me. So yeah, I think I might disagree with the statement.
So does he list out what his top 4 are?
Yeah.
He does not.
I'd be curious.
Patrick, you need to, I'm going to put a post up when this episode comes out and invite these people to defend their hot take unpopular opinions. He does not, but that's interesting because for me, I love Velocicoaster. It's up there 100%. I know I had Minion Blast as my number 1. I think I said it would have been had we, no, not anymore. Stardust Races is amazing.
I know we did that 2 or 3 times, and the first time we rode Stardust was during the day with only 1 car running, and I kind of walked off it thinking, oh, Velocicoaster is way better than this. And then the second time we did it was at night with both cars running, and that second half when you're twisting around each other is outstanding.
It really is.
Yeah, I need to give Stardust another chance. We only rode it once, and it broke down. So I love coasters, but it takes a lot of nerve for me to get up to getting on them. Really? So I was already nervous, and then it broke down right before the first launch. So we sat there for like 10 minutes before it took off again. So I think I was just so panicked, I blacked out through most of the coaster. So I will need to give it another shot.
Got to do it at night. That's something else.
That's what I keep hearing.
We did it at night with Chris and Alexa, but we did front row. And after we got off it, Chris was like, yeah, that wasn't the best decision because front row on that ride, you miss all those interactions between the 2 vehicles because you can't see it. So you need to be sort of middle to back to actually really appreciate Stardust Races when it duels. But it is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I would be curious what his 4 rides are. I want to know what he tops Epic.
I guess he would say what? Spider-Man? Hagrid's?
Velocicoaster.
Probably. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think what's normally up there when people do.
I think the Mummy's up there.
Yeah, I'd say Mummy, especially for those who maybe are more nostalgic for the parks. I think Mummy is pretty top.
But to say the 4 best rides are all at the other park is interesting. Like Battle at the Ministry didn't do it for me. It's kind of wonky. The facial projections on the animatronics are terrible.
The ones at the end were the worst. Were the worst part.
They really are. Yeah, they're all like I get like it's funny as well because if you look at the Victoria Frankenstein animatronic, it's so good. In that pre-show with the projected face on it is so good. I don't understand why the Potter ones look so bad.
I do think the Death Eaters towards the middle, I think those are outstanding.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the best.
Yes.
I couldn't tell if that was a person or an animatronic.
Yeah, same.
I turned to Tracy the first time we rode that and went, hell, there's actors on this. And then went, oh no, that's an animatronic. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But then they have the 3 of them at the end, like I think standing on like the courtroom area. They looked horrible. Yeah, at the trial, they looked horrible.
They really look bad. And that's your signature ride in the park, let's be honest. That's the one they were probably anchoring a lot of things on. But also the only ride you have in that land. I I know people who worked on these things, so I need to be careful what I say right now. But surely someone had to stand, like they had to ride that ride a number of times. And surely someone looked at those animatronics and went, guys, they look bad.
And there were parts of it that were, I'm probably one of the fewer people I feel like at this point that really enjoyed Fantastic Beasts. So I did enjoy a lot of the aspects they built into that ride for it. But there were parts that were a little bit more of a letdown for, I think I just built it up too much in my head before going on it too.
I think I'm exactly there with you, Kendra. I think I was expecting Universal's answer, and I haven't ridden Rise of the Resistance, but I've watched many, many, many ride-throughs, and I was expecting something on that level, and it really isn't.
Yeah, no, it isn't. I've done Rise of the Resistance only once, but yeah, I think I was expecting the same thing, like to full immersion, and I didn't quite get that from Ministry. The queue is amazing. That's
yes.
Still my favorite part.
I would never argue that it's probably the best queue on property.
Oh, hands down. Monsters is a close second, though. It's really good.
I adore that ride. And I think the thing that helps Monsters is the fact that it's never busy.
No, you can just walk on anytime.
It's crazy.
And I need to give it another go. So like I said, our last time was opening day, and I only rode it once on opening day. And all 3 times I've been on that, not all of the animatronics were working. So I've never been on it like at 100% full functionality. So I'm curious to go on it after that with one of those rides.
I think the only animatronic on Monsters that I haven't seen move is the first werewolf.
Really?
Or first wolfman.
Wow.
Yeah, the one
that's eating, like chewing on the, he's chewing on the guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those animatronics are amazing. I think Tracy and we've probably ridden it like a dozen times now, and I think we've only ridden it maybe 2 or 3 where everything's been working. When we went back in October, there was quite a lot down. We rode it with Chris and Alexa, and Chris was like, we've never seen the Mummy working before. And I'm like, and then we rode it again and it was down. I was like, that's the first time I've seen it not working.
Yeah, Dracula wasn't working when I rode it either, and I think that really takes away from it because that was obviously a pretty key focus of the ride.
The first one.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah. I am very interested, Patrick, for you to tell us what your 4 favourite attractions are that don't include anything from Epic. But anyway, moving on. His number 2. Helios Grand is not one of the best hotels on property. Being pretty much inside of Epic is an amazing feature, but if we're judging just the hotel, I would put it below all the other premieres and Sapphire Falls.
I haven't been into Helios yet, but from like the videos I've seen, yeah, I would still probably put Sapphire above it for me personally, but that might just be more of a nostalgic tie to the hotel as well.
Yeah, and I have stayed in Helios.
You are the 1%er on this show. Michelle, your replacement is here.
So I was going to joke and say I'm not quite there, but I might be a 2%er. I'll agree with that. But no, we did stay, and what you're paying for is the location and the access more than anything. I mean, the views are outstanding, especially at night from the Bar Helios up on top. It's wonderful views, and I think my wife just wanted to stay up there and watch.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's a hot take. I would tend to agree. It is a pretty hotel. It's the backdrop to Epic Universe that it gives it serves its purpose, but the hotel itself is beautiful, but it is a little underwhelming. Like, I agree with you, Kendra. Sapphire Falls is mine and Tracy's favourite. Actually, Stella Nova is really high up on our list after staying there in May. I really like Stella Nova.
We did the grand opening for Terra Luna just kind of on a whim. And so that one now I think has my heart, and maybe it's just because we got to be there for all the festivities involved in it. But yeah, those are beautiful hotels too.
Terra Luna I was a bit disappointed with. Michelle was staying there and we went over to visit her. And even though the virtually carbon copies of each other just felt sterile to us, Terra Luna. But again, like you, it could be that's the hotel that we stayed in during the media event. So like the first media event Tracy and I ever got to go to, the opening of the brand new park. There could be a little bit of that to play in there, but Helios is expensive. Like you look at now, when you look at the prices of it now, plus we went to Bar Helios with friends of ours when we were in October, and Tracy bought the most expensive bottle of Sprite she has ever bought in her entire life because John paid for it, and Tracy's like, oh, let me know how much I owe you. And he's like, it was $13 for a bottle of Sprite? What?
Yeah, we're close, so I don't stay at hotels too often, but every now and then we'll do a little staycation, and Helios even with its location, it's hard to justify the price
Yes.
compared to like a Sapphire Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Sapphire is my number one hotel
It's
as well.
stunning.
So I think as far as the hot take goes, I mean, I don't know how unpopular that is, but I think where they had them listed is probably a pretty accurate statement if you take away the location.
And that's it. It's purely that if you're staying at Epic, just being able to be able to walk into the park is amazing. I mean, apparently someone's just posted in the Producers Club today, actually, the day we're recording this, that they went to Flora Taverna for breakfast, and apparently it's absolutely stunning for breakfast.
Yeah, I've heard the food's really good.
Yeah. Very, very expensive, apparently.
Yeah, that's why we haven't gone to Helios yet. I would break the bank at just the bar there.
Well, I nearly fell over when I found out how much that Sprite was. I was on water. There's no way, and that cost me. I was going to say that cost me $10. It didn't. It was free. But it's like, it's banking on the fact of where it is, because I agree. It doesn't, like, I don't like Portofino Bay, but especially the pool area in Helios felt very much Portofino Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Royal Pacific is one we used to love and kind of gone off a little bit, but Sapphire Falls hits that perfect. If Sapphire Falls had Express Pass like the others do, it would be 100% the best hotel on property.
Oh, hey, I would stay there every time. Yeah. And even for location, we stayed at Terra Luna for a grand opening, and I know everybody says there's not an official walking path from there, but it took us 10 minutes to walk from Terra Luna
That's
over
not bad.
to Epic. And so my husband and I are definitely we would prefer the walking paths over a shuttle anytime. So
Yeah.
I would still rather take that for, $150, $200 compared to Helios.
Yeah, it's like really like Dockside and Surfside. And I would never be disappointed, because those from sort of Aventura upwards, those hotels have got a lot more expensive than they were 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But it would feel like Dockside and Surfside with a booby prize, like, because we can't afford to stay at them, which it kind of is, but they don't feel like that.
No. Yeah, I think it's lacking something.
I don't mind them, but if it's the difference between me being able to stay on property and not stay on property, I'm quite happily stay there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I took my parents there and they loved it. That was their favorite. So I think the beachy feel kind of felt maybe more to what I'm used to seeing. So it didn't feel as vacation-y, but I think coming from other areas, I could see that being exciting too.
Yeah, we've gone from being iDrive hotel people to suddenly, we stay on site all the time now. But having a Terra Luna and a Stella Nova and a Dockside and a Surfside allow you to do that, because they're not that much more expensive than staying at a crappy iDrive hotel with all the benefits of early park entry and shuttle buses and all the rest of it.
Yeah, the iDrive hotels have gone up in cost drastically over the last year or so.
I wish to go to South Korea.
Where can our vacation wizards take you? Just tap the Portkey at portkeyvacations.com and let the magic begin.
Right, number 3 says, Epic seems to be changing this and I'm excited to try more of their food offerings. However, I'm going to be honest, the food at the Universal parks overall isn't that great.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could agree a little bit, especially if you visit frequently. There are spots that I think are great, and then there are in the OG parks. Like, I think there are spots that are definitely more your basic theme park options. But if you know where to look, there's some pretty good options there.
And I also think I love the food at Islands and Studios as well. You just got to know where you're going and not the Kong stand there. I know you guys are fans of the Kong.
I love the
Dongs,
Kong Dong.
but yeah, you gotta know what you're going for and where to look. But I think it's there.
I actually think Islands is probably the worst of the two at this point.
Yeah, I would agree.
I could name you sort of half a dozen places at Studios that are worth going to. Leaky Cauldron, Today Cafe, as everyone knows, is mine and Tracy's favourite place on property at this point. Even Louis, like, I know it's just pizza, but I don't know, it's just really good pizza for us. Minions Cafe is great, honestly. Fast Food Boulevard used to be one of our favourite places, but that place is a show right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's awful.
It's too busy. It's too busy to go into right now.
It's not that they keep changing up the ordering system of how you do things,
Yeah.
and the staff don't even know what. The last time we were there, our food was cold by the time we actually got it to a table because no one knew what the hell was going on. But Islands is like, we've done Confisco Grill once since it, not Confisco, sorry, Circus McGurkus since it reopened, and I think I made a bad choice. I've gone off 3 broomsticks at this point. Mythos is good, but it doesn't. It shouldn't have the reputation it does, I don't think. Thunder Falls Terrace is great. Other than that,
I mean, I think Confisco's is up there for me personally. I haven't had a bad anything from there.
See, I'm the opposite. We've been to Confisco 3 times and I have not had a good one yet. But I keep hearing so many good things about it that we keep going back and trying it because I want to have the love for it that I feel like other people do.
yeah, I'm exactly there with you, Kendra. We went once on, I'll call her out, Kelly from Taste of Universal, her recommendation, and the menu is very limited, and it was kind of
I do like Backwater Bar.
Oh, yes, Tracy and I discovered that in May, and we've spent many times in there, and apparently I can drink alcohol from there. It was very interesting. But yes, the Backwater Bar, like everyone's, again, raved about that, and it is. We spent an hour there, Tracy and I, just up against on the bar seating, looking out over Islands of Adventure, having a drink, and it's that thing like we talked about with Epic last week. Going to Islands and Studios as much as we do, you can take that time to just chill out and enjoy those random little spots of just sitting for an hour and enjoying a drink and enjoying being in the park.
I think if we eat at Islands, it's typically, I do love Croissant Moon and then probably Thunder Falls Terrace.
Yes.
But other than that, we typically eat at Studios.
Yeah, Islands isn't great anymore. But we looked at the menu in Comic Strip Cafe and it looked great. We didn't try any of it, but the menu looked good. But I know Seth's been, like he's talked about it before, not being great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I know the Lost Continent's going away, but Fire Eaters has been a go-to for us for years.
Yes, Doxa Grooves is great as well, actually.
And Doxa Grooves, yep.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it really could do with some love. I'll agree with Island Studios is not too, but then also look, City Walk is a 5 to 10 minute walk from any point in any of those parks, and City Walk's great. Again, like we talked about with Epic, it can be hit and miss, but for the most part, it's generally good. It's expensive. Like we went to Big Fire for the 3rd time. We've had mediocre experiences before, and we went with, funnily enough, again, Tracy's Taste of Universal co-host. They're getting some plugs tonight. Shelby and a current husband. There we go, I'll drop that one. And we were a little bit like, the last time we went, it wasn't great. And we were like, Shelby wanted to go. So it's like, okay, we'll go there. And actually had a really good meal there. City Walk's great because there's so many different options as well.
Yeah, I'd rather wait and just go eat at City Walk on my way out than I would eat in the park for the most part. NBC is probably one of our go-to stops.
Yeah.
And I know I love just about everything on City Walk too, but
yeah,
Cowfish is my number one, really by far. Vivo, I think, is probably mine and Tracy's favourite at this point. It's like if I asked Tracy at any point, where do you want to eat at City Walk, she'd go Vivo every time.
We have not been to Vivo yet. We're not big pasta or people, so I think we've shied away a little bit, but I've only heard good things, so we'll give it a shot at some point.
It is really, really good. I don't think there's a bad option on City Walk. You can go, I tell you, I'm going to give a shout out to Bob Marley. We went to Bob Marley with friends of ours, Hope and Danny, for the first time ever, and it was the food was stunning. Like, so good and relatively cheap. It's like, Tracy looked at me and went, how have we slept on this place for so long?
They serve huge portions and it's very flavorful food.
It's just very loud. We went on like a Monday night and there was a band on and we were like wanting to catch it, like we're having a meal with our friends and we want to talk and catch up because we haven't seen them in ages, and it's like, Jesus Christ, turn the volume down, will you?
Yeah, I go with a friend who is hard of hearing, and I think the whole restaurant could hear my conversation for how loud I had to try to beat the band.
Yeah, we've never eaten up there, but I've gotten drinks from the little to-go window they have.
It's really good. Like we went to Pat O'Brien's in May or December last year, and that was somewhere we went before and had really good food, and then went back again, and Tracy and I both went, I don't think I want to go back to Pat O'Brien's again. It was kind of
Yeah, I've only been once, and it was okay, but I would go to Bob Marley's.
Yeah, but it's definitely on top of our, in our top 3, I would say, at this point. So Patrick's number 4 is Jurassic River Adventure is the only rideable water ride in the parks. He clarifies that by saying Popeyes and Dudley's are fun, but they are day ruiners. You just get too wet. And I will 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I hate getting wet, so I'd agree.
So I agree with all of that, but I don't think that Ripsaw Falls gets you terribly drenched. I mean, I think it's pretty equivalent to River Adventure.
I think it can. I don't think I've ever come off it not wet.
I think it's like River Adventure because I have been drenched off River Adventure and then I've come off with like a sprinkle on my shoulder and that's it.
I used to be that idiot that would ride Popeye. So Tracy and I would do, she's never liked being wet. So whenever we do water rides, she's like, I need to take a backpack in with me, towel, change of clothes. We ride the water rides. I get dried and changed and I'm good for the rest of the day. I'm the idiot that wants to walk around the park drenched from head to foot with everyone going, oh my God, look at how wet he is. That used to be me. Not anymore. Like I couldn't even tell you the last time I rode Popeyes. It's been a long time.
It's been a couple years for me too.
Yeah, me too. I will say River Adventure, that is a hot ride during the summer though. You may get wet at the end, but that first bit is you get baked for a while.
It's going to be really interesting to see what they do when it goes down next year.
Yeah. I'm curious what if they just revamp a little bit or if they switch it up.
Patrick's final one. I don't know whether I like this one because it's a ride I like a lot. Let's see what you guys think. Minion Blast might be as big of a flop as Fast and Furious.
Oh no.
No.
I like how it helped create the more cohesive Minions land, but it's a video game. It is a video game.
Yeah. My husband and I love that ride.
Me too.
Have an ongoing competition there.
I like Men in Black more, but
Yes.
I don't dislike Minion Blast. I think it's entertaining. It's good for little kids, whether they have the fake blaster or the real one. They love it.
We hit that every time we're at studios, usually multiple times.
So that's where I don't agree with Patrick at all because I adore it. Matrizi and I ride it multiple times, but I also think one of the reasons that we ride it multiple times is because it never has a long wait.
Yeah, it's almost always 5 minutes.
5 or 10 minutes at most. And I'd be interested to find out what it is about it. I was listening to, I'll give them a plug, Portkey Passport, our Disney podcast on the network, and they did an episode talking about like rides that are walk-ons at Disney. And as part of that episode, they were asking, why do you think it's a walk-on? And it's interesting to look at certain attractions at Universal and go, why does that have a low wait time? Because I wonder what percentage of people visiting the park on any given day are return visitors compared to first-time visitors. Because as a first-time visitor, I don't know, but I would want to ride everything. So it's weird that there are things in the park that have really low wait times. And what is it about said ride or attraction that puts people off getting in line for it? Like Stormforce Acceleratron, you can understand because people can see. You can see what it is and you go, yeah, no, I don't fancy puking today. But with something like Minion Blast, you have no idea what it is from the outside.
I wonder if people the facade doesn't really highlight the idea that the ride is there. So I wonder if people just kind of walk by it.
Maybe.
Like you can see the posters, but I don't think it maybe draws you in as much. I love it, but I think I could see if you only had a chance to ride it one time, maybe not being your favorite because it can be fairly chaotic. But the different competitions they have or different challenges they have associated with it, I think are part of what draws me in.
Yes. And that's the thing, to walk, to stand on that stand, we don't call it a ride. Like being on the app and connecting your gun to your phone and stuff is a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is super chaotic in that very short time frame that you have from them handing you the blaster to stepping on the moving walkway.
It is. But then I don't think a lot of people realize that like you don't have. I've seen people step aside, like the team members there are helping you. Just like if you can't get your gun to sync, then just step out of the way. They'll help you with it and get it and then step you back on. I get it because people don't want to step out of the line because they feel like, whatever, people are looking at them funny or whatever it might be. So you like stood there. Tracy never manages to get hers synced up properly. She's like, and I end up having to do it for her. But I can understand why it is stressful of people trying to figure out how to get this thing to work. But then the ride itself has issues. The walk, the stand, we'll call it the stand. It has issues. Like, I'll be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing on it most of the time, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah, I dove into a whole bunch of videos for instructions on like how, because I'm competitive and I want to beat my husband on it. So I'm trying to find all the little ways of doing it. But yeah, one-time ride, it's pretty confusing and just a lot of color.
But then you could argue Super Mario Kart at Nintendo World's the same. First time, the amount of people I've heard who said I rode it first time, I had no idea what I was doing. And then you sort of learn things as you go on multiple times. But I'm not the best person to be the barometer for this, because I actually don't mind Fast and Furious. I don't love it by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think it's absolutely terrible like a lot of other people do. So his hot take, unpopular opinion, is that Minion Blast is as big a flop as Fast and Furious. So you guys, what do you think to that actual statement then?
I think it's way better than Fast and Furious.
I think it's way better than Fast and Furious as well, but I think that's a pretty low bar to set.
I don't mind it. It's not... I don't think it's that bad. I know it's not good.
It isn't one I would hate. You know, I would ride that over Simpsons or Storm Force because both of those will make me sick, whereas Fast and Furious won't.
I took a picture. When were we there? It was either December last year or May this year. It might have been one of the two. And I took a picture of Tracy and I stood outside Fast and Furious with Tracy's face of like, about to ride Fast and Furious Supercharged. And I posted it on our Instagram page. I think it's still probably the single biggest Instagram post we've ever made. It was hilarious. It shows the
split.
I don't mind it. It's not terrible. It's not as bad. I don't think it's as bad as everyone thinks it is. But I also do wonder that when Vin Diesel and whoever it was that came for the opening rode that ride and went, that's it. Like, that's what you give us. The film's called Fast and Furious, and that is neither of those things.
True.
No, not at all.
Right. We haven't really got time for any more, so we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys for your hot takes and unpopular opinions. I am very disappointed that we still didn't get to Taylor Filarowski's. I cannot wait to get to those. She has some very interesting, and a lot of them as well. Thank you, Derek and Kendra. It's been awesome having you on again.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You've been way more professional than I have on this episode. I was the one that screwed my lines up, and you guys were keeping me right. But that's going to wrap up another episode of the podcast. Don't forget, you've still got until December 5th to rate the freeze ray pops over a Minions Land and send in your recordings, as well as getting in any Fast and Furious Supercharged jokes that we're going to wrap up for the end of the year. I think there's only 2 news episodes left, so if you want to get them in, you can send all them to us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. But for the 3 of us, we will see you next week.
That's the end of another Stella episode of UUOP. Use the Flu Network to give you access to us on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, TikTok, and Pinterest. Just search UUO Podcast. And check out our blog at uuopodcast.com for everything else. Send your owls to us at podcast@uuopodcast.com. And if you want to join the Producers Club, jump down the warp pipe at uuop.supercast.com. It's alive on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else the podcasts are found. So please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you can. Dragons aren't the only way to get around. Email Michelle at portkeyvacations.com. She can take care of all aspects of your next Universal Orlando vacation. Listen to them, the children of the night, the children of the UUOP network. Rush of Fear Halloween Horror Nights podcast, the theme park duo for all your West Coast news and info. The Taste of Universal Orlando Food Podcast, Portkey Passport, an adult-centric Disney podcast, the unofficial Universal Great Britain podcast, and Big Dumb Stuff, our comedy, pop culture, and themed entertainment podcast. Make sure to subscribe and come back next week, because in the end, it turns out all we needed was a little more of this.